everyone, so in this video we're going to be looking at the chords that you just heard, which in my opinion are some of the most difficult chords to play on the guitar. So of course you could make more difficult chords by, doing the most extreme stretches you could or things like that, but the reason that I wanted to show these chords is these are some of the most difficult chords with large stretches that I would actually regularly use whilst I was playing. So I've used a similar sort of version of these shapes before for C major and also D major, and I've shown that in different videos, but this shape here is for, we're using it in the key of B flat, so it means it's quite a large stretch. So I'll show you the chords just now. So essentially what we're doing here is we're taking a G major sort of shape. So if we were to mute the open strings, we'd have a G major shape, which is now a B flat, okay? So we've got our root in the 6th fret, but what we're gonna do is take our first finger back all the way to the 3rd fret on the G string. So the chord is going to be 2nd finger on the 6th fret of the low E. Then this 2nd finger is also muting the A and muting the D. So, and then we've got our 1st finger on the 3rd fret of the G string, and then we've got our 3rd finger in the 6th fret of and on the B string, and then we've got our little finger in the 6th fret on the E string. So you can hear it's a slightly closed off shape, but as you can hear at the start of the video, when you're strumming, it's probably the closest kind of open sounding nice chords that we can get in the key of B flat in standard tuning. So that's our first chord. And luckily for all these chords, our 1st, 3rd and little finger are going to stay exactly where they are. So we're then going to move on to our E flat. So it's like an E flat over a B flat. So all we're doing for that is we're taking our 2nd finger, moving it down a string, so it's now on the 6th fret of the A string. Our thumb is going to come over and mute the low E, and then again we're letting the 2nd finger rest over the D string to mute it, but the 1st, 3rd and little finger are going to stay in the same place. So that's our kind of E flat equivalent shape. Now this next chord would be what I would think is the most difficult one. So we're going to keep again our 1st, 3rd and little finger where they are, but we're going to take our thumb over the top and fret the 3rd fret on the low E, and our 2nd finger is going to go into the 5th fret of the A string, and again the 2nd finger is muting the D below it, but that's for our G minor chord. So that's quite a nice, I think that's quite a nice sounding shape, but it is a very large stretch. So a tip that I would give you for that is you want to make sure that you're holding the neck of the guitar in this kind of crook of between your 1st finger and your thumb, so in the crook of the hand. So if obviously you need to use the thumb to fret, but if you try and keep your wrist kind of too far down, you're never going to be able to reach it. So you need to kind of move your wrist a bit, so your wrist is now kind of like almost pushing directly into the back of the neck, like this. So that would be our most difficult chord, and then our next chord would just be an A over our B flat, which is basically we're using that instead of playing an F, but it's to lead us back into our original B flat, our B flat chord. So all we're doing for that is the first shape that we did, but move the 2nd finger back one. So now we've got 2nd finger in the 5th fret of the low E, the 2nd finger is muting the A and the D, and then again we've got our 1st, 3rd and little finger where they've been the whole time. And that sounds a bit odd by itself, but in context when we're doing, it makes sense, okay? So those are all the chords, but I would say you could play these shapes even lower, for A, but when you get to sort of your A, if you get down to A, you can use, nicer open sounding chords for A than that. But if you really, really want to push it, you could use it for G sharp major, but then it's getting really, really difficult. So I wouldn't really use, I would probably capo up if I was going to be playing in G sharp major. So I'll show you the chords in context again now, and you can play along if you want. I'm just going to play 2 bars on each of the chords that we just learned. So that's it for this video. If you'd like more lessons on chords, strumming patterns, things like that, you can check out my Patreon, which will be linked in the description below. But thanks again for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.